I believed in nothing, absolutely nothing. I was what one might call an outspoken atheist, convinced that religion was nothing more than a crutch for weak minds. For years, I mocked those who believed, considering them naive and easily manipulated. But what happened on March 15th completely upended my view of the world and of existence itself. This story that I'm about to tell you today, I have shared with very few people. Not out of fear of judgment. I long ago moved past that stage, but because I know how incredible it may seem. Had someone told me a similar story a few months ago, I would have laughed in their face. My name is Thomas Laurent, and I am a physics professor at the University of Lyon. For 20 years, I taught the laws of nature, explaining to my students how everything in our universe could be explained by science. I was respected in my field, regularly publishing articles in prestigious scientific journals. My life was built on facts, data, and tangible evidence. That day, I was giving a lecture on quantum mechanics in front of a packed auditorium. I remember feeling a slight pain in my chest, but I ignored it, too absorbed by my presentation. Then, suddenly, everything became blurry. The last thing I remember is the worried face of a student in the front row, then total darkness. Doctors later told me that my heart had stopped for exactly 7 minutes and 23 seconds, clinically dead. But what happened during those minutes defied everything I thought I knew about reality, consciousness, and existence itself. At first, it was like floating in an ocean of pure consciousness. No body, no physical limitations, just a sensation of absolute peace. But that was only the beginning. What followed would shake the very foundations of my militant atheism and my scientific worldview. The light. A light so intense that it should have blinded me. Yet it did not hurt my eyes. It seemed alive, pulsating, as if it contained all the knowledge of the universe. I remember thinking that it might be a hallucination caused by the lack of oxygen in my brain. After all, as a scientist, I had read numerous studies on near-death experiences, but what happened next could not be explained by the science I knew. In that light, I began to see scenes from my life, not as a simple movie, but as events I was reliving, feeling not only my own emotions but also those of the people I had hurt with my intellectual arrogance. I saw myself ridiculing a student who had dared to mention God during a lecture. I felt his shame, his pain, his humiliation. I relived every moment in which I had used my intelligence as a weapon to tear down others' faith, but this time I felt their suffering as if it were my own. And then he appeared. I say he because I cannot find another word to describe this presence. He was not a bearded figure on a cloud, as in traditional depictions. He was a presence of such pure, intense love that all my scientific certainties crumbled in an instant. This presence did not judge me. It loved me with an unconditional love I had never experienced before. And for the first time in my life, I understood that all my scientific knowledge, all my degrees, all my publications were just a drop in the ocean of reality. In that state, time no longer existed. I received answers to questions I hadn't even thought to ask. I saw how science and spirituality were not enemies, but different facets of the same truth. I understood that my mission was not to destroy the faith of others, but to help build bridges between reason and spirituality. The communication with this presence was not verbal. It was pure, instantaneous understanding. In a moment of absolute clarity, I saw how my militant atheism was just another form of fundamentalism. I had replaced one dogma with another, closing myself off to any possibility that did not fit my narrow view of the world. This presence showed me truths about the universe that my scientific mind struggled to comprehend. I saw how consciousness was not merely a product of brain activity, but something far more expansive. I saw how every particle in the universe was connected in a cosmic dance of infinite complexity. Then something even more extraordinary happened. This presence, which I identified as Christ, not the historical figure, but the very essence of universal love, showed me events in my life that had not yet occurred. Specific moments where my newfound knowledge would be crucial in helping others. I saw how my experience would touch lives, not by imposing a new belief, but by opening doors to a deeper understanding of reality. I saw scientists and believers sitting at the same table, sharing their perspectives without judgment or conflict. But the most staggering part was the way this experience transformed my understanding of quantum physics, my area of expertise. Phenomena I had been teaching for years suddenly took on a new meaning: quantum entanglement, the uncertainty principle, the dual nature of light, all of it fit together into a grander picture than I had ever imagined. This presence made me realize that I had to return. My mission was not over. There was still so much to do, so much to share. But coming back also meant facing an immense challenge: how to share this experience without being considered crazy by my academic peers. The return was brutal. It was as if I were yanked from a state of complete understanding and plunged back into the limitations of a physical body. I opened my eyes in a hospital room, surrounded by beeping machines and worried faces. The doctors talked about a miracle, not understanding how I had come back after such a long period of cardiac arrest without any brain damage. The first few days were the most difficult. How do you go on living normally when you have experienced something that surpasses all human understanding? How do you return to teaching physics when you have seen that reality is infinitely vaster than our theories can explain? My colleagues noticed the change. The old Thomas, cynical and biting, had disappeared. In his place, they found someone more composed, more open, more attentive. Some thought it was a side effect of the trauma. Others assumed I had suffered a psychological breakdown, but the changes were not limited to my behavior. Strange things began to happen. I would wake up at night with complex equations in my head, formulas that seemed to build bridges between quantum physics and dimensions of reality we still did not understand. Even more surprising, I began receiving messages from people I did not know, who said they had been guided to me. Scientists in search of answers, believers seeking validation, curious skeptics, all seemed to find resonance in my experience. One day, during a conference where I was to present my latest research, I made a decision that would change my life forever. Instead of my usual talk on quantum mechanics, I began to speak about my experience. The silence in the auditorium was deafening. That day, in front of my peers, I broke all the norms of the scientific community. I spoke of a dimension beyond our physical reality, of this Christ-like presence that transcends all religions, of this new understanding of the universe that had been given to me. I expected to be ridiculed, to lose my credibility, perhaps even my position at the university. But something unexpected happened. After the conference, a line of people formed to speak with me. Respected colleagues came forward to confide their own spiritual experiences, kept secret for fear of academic judgment. A neurology professor revealed that he had been secretly studying near-death experiences for years. A renowned physicist told me about her research on quantum consciousness. It was as if my testimony had opened a door, allowing others to share their own questions about the nature of reality. The following months were intense. I began to receive invitations from around the world to share my experience. Research laboratories contacted me to participate in studies on consciousness. Religious leaders sought me out to discuss the convergence between science and spirituality. But the most important part was not in these conferences or studies. It was in the individual meetings, in those moments when I could share with someone seeking answers what I had learned, that the universe is infinitely more mysterious and wonderful than we imagine, that science and spirituality are not enemies but complementary paths to truth. I have seen hardened atheists like I once was open up to new possibilities. I have seen believers discover that their faith can coexist with scientific reason. I have seen bridges built where there were only walls. Today, 5 years after that life-altering experience, I continue to explore this new territory between science and spirituality. I do not claim to have all the answers. In fact, the further I progress in this quest, the more I realize how vast is what we still have to discover. My laboratory at the university has become an interdisciplinary research center, where physicists, neurologists, philosophers, and theologians work together to explore the boundaries of consciousness and reality. We are developing new theories that attempt to integrate the discoveries of quantum physics with the spiritual experiences reported throughout history. But beyond academic research, what touches me the most are the testimonies of those whose lives have been transformed by this message of unity between science and spirituality. Young people who have found meaning in their lives, scientists who have rediscovered wonder in their work, people at the end of life who have found peace in the face of the unknown. I am no longer the militant atheist I once was, but I have not become a religious preacher either. I see myself more as an explorer, inviting everyone to broaden their view of the world, to remain open to the mysteries of the universe and our own consciousness. This experience taught me that truth is often more expansive than our human categories, that science and spirituality, far from being opposed, are like the two wings of a bird, both necessary to soar toward a deeper understanding of our reality. To those who listen to my story, I do not ask you to take my word for it. I simply invite you to dare to question your certainties, to remain open to wonder, to the possibility that reality is infinitely richer and more mysterious than we can imagine. After all, what is more incredible? That a physics professor could have a profound spiritual experience, or that this immense universe, with all its complexity and beauty, was born from chance and devoid of meaning. I do not know what the future holds or what discoveries still await us, but I know one thing. This quest for understanding, this exploration of the boundaries between the known and the unknown, is the most exciting adventure any human being can undertake. So to you who are listening, I challenge you, dare to question your beliefs, whether scientific or spiritual. Dare to explore that vast territory between reason and faith, for it is there, in that space of questioning and openness, that the greatest discoveries and the deepest transformations are found. My name is Thomas Laurent, and this is my testimony, an invitation to see beyond appearances, to embrace the mystery of existence in all its complexity. May my story be an open door to new possibilities, to a deeper understanding of our place in this infinite universe.